Welcome to Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. Our podcast showcases inspiring appraisers and professionals from the industry who are leaders in their field. How did they get to where they are? What have they learned along the way? What can we learn from them? Your host is real estate investor, entrepreneur, and appraiser, Michael Hobbs.
Well, welcome. So glad that you're joining us for another fun and engaging and informative episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hobbs, and I'm excited to have Becci as our guest today. Becci, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate that. And the beauty of it is, friends, you can do what only you can do. Would you imagine, since I know you love the data, that just around half of you actually subscribe and like the podcast. The other half of you like it and maybe haven't subscribed or actually haven't pressed the like button. But when you do, that creates a signal. We know signals can create trends and trends can have influence. So be influential. And you're going to love our conversation today with Becci. Becci, everybody wants to know, were you born this way, or how did your life come to intersect the appraisal and valuation profession?
I definitely was not born this way.
Oh, you too. All right. Getting on the bandwagon.
Is that the message from every guest that's ever been on?
I would say easily 8 or 9 out of 10. Absolutely.
Definitely. I did grow up in a bit of real estate. So my dad was a land surveyor. I started working for him when I was 11 years old. And actually, when I started working for him, he was teaching me how to type. I think that was, maybe when computers were becoming a thing. This is dating me.
Dates all of us.
Yes. But he would have me come in the summer and type out legal descriptions. I would sit in the same office as him. I'd sit in a desk across the office, and he would say, "Stop looking at your hands. Look at the computer screen." So I'm typing out these legal descriptions all day long.
Oh my gosh. At 11 years old. So you didn't even get to do field work. You were in the office.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And he gave me all sorts of stretch goals, like, to help me with my payroll. And then employees would come screaming because, the paychecks were always wrong. But, it was a great opportunity to learn. And at some point I skipped work and went to a concert, and he fired me, and I learned.
Wait. Your dad fired you? What were you, like 15 or 16 at this point?
Yes, I was probably 16, and a friend called me in the morning and said, "Do you want to go see this concert with me this afternoon?"
You're like, absolutely. I mean, just to put it in perspective, of course. What concert did you go see?
It was Warped Tour. Yes. And
whoa.
I know. I can't believe that I did this, honestly. And we drove out there and came home. That. My dad said, "Where were you?" And and then after that I learned that you have to show up to work, and
oh my gosh,
you can't just skip out. So
that is something else. I love the fact that you went to the Warped Tour. That was excellent. That was actually excellent. And that your dad actually fired you. I mean, I get it, like, to some degree, but I mean, no warning even? I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, he was not messing around. And it was honestly a lesson, it stuck. I was like, okay, I know how this works now. I understand.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. So at that point, I figured you're gone from real estate forever.
Yeah, so then I went to college. I was a bit of a late bloomer. It was the Warped Tour.
Of course it was. You had priorities.
I played Warped Tour. So I went to college, and I worked a few jobs while I was in college. So I was a flight attendant. I went to the University of Washington.
Oh wow.
I was a flight attendant based out of LA. So when I'd get out of school on Fridays, I would fly down to Los Angeles and start working, doing all-nighters to Mexico City and Guadalajara. And then I would come back up to Seattle, early Monday morning and start school again. And then in the afternoons, when I was done with school, I went and worked at this French bakery for a couple of hours to close.
How fascinating. So you spoke Spanish and French while attending college?
I mean, enough to say, like, do you want some orange juice or apple juice?
I didn't know this. Is at that time, and I don't know, maybe it's different now. So as a college student, late teens, early 20s, so you're able to be a flight professional and work. Was that considered full time as well, just doing the weekends?
It was full time, but you probably have to be 21. So this is like the end of
Okay.
of school, my school time,
job.
and I started a bit
Yeah.
late, so I was on the
Yeah.
tail end of that. But that was full time. So for flight attendants, it's generally 3 to 4 days a week, and you have a line that you bid.
Yep.
And that just worked with my schedule. Nobody wanted to do those all nighters because who wants to stay working?
Oh, sure.
And yeah, I'd sleep at the airport, and it was
Of course.
it was it was something.
Wow.
The lovely thing about working all night is that you get to study, while everyone else sleeps. So I was able to get some homework done.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So, but at some
Amazing.
point, the bakery needed me to work a full 8-hour day, and I couldn't because I had way too much other stuff going on. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who was an appraiser, and I was saying, I'm kind of bummed because I can't do this anymore, and I really like to have a full schedule and kind of do different things. And he was like, "Come be a researcher at this appraisal shop I work at." And so,
Really?
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, of course. I mean, after you've been a flight professional and you've worked in, French food establishment, of course, let's just go do some research.
Why not be an appraiser?
Oh my gosh.
And I thought that was something I was going to do just for a minute, because my intention was to go to law school.
Yes.
But I'm racking up student loan debt and a researcher at this small appraisal firm, and they were getting really busy, and they were like, "Hey, take some trainee courses." And so I did, and the rest is history. I got sucked in.
Oh my gosh, you really did get sucked in. So you didn't go back to the flying around and getting to live the life of luxurious sleeping in airports?
I know it was quite fancy. No, I actually did both for a little while after I graduated college, and then it just got to be too much. Appraisal took over, and eventually I quit. But
wow, that's amazing. So here you are. What a set of fascinating experiences you have at a very early age in most people's typical set of decades of experience. What appealed to you about getting in research and taking classes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that the thing that I liked about appraisal was that there's some flexibility in that schedule. You know what I mean? I liked the idea of, even though you're working for somebody, you truly are kind of working independently, and it's up to you to kind of, keep clients happy. It was such a small firm that we kind of did everything.
Oh, really?
We didn't get paid until the clients paid us, and so we were, doing collections.
Oh, goodness.
Because it was a small firm and the guys were reasonably close to retirement. We didn't have a lot of tech solutions in place, and so they allowed me to kind of test out some different things.
Yes.
I had learned from other people that were smarter than me. Some skills around linking your Excel and Word and helping to sort of create a database and do some of those other things. And so I was able to kind of bring in some tools to make us more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun. It's fun to kind of find ways to help. And, and of course, just figuring out what values are is neat,
Yeah, I definitely sense you have a high curiosity given some of the different places you'd worked in already by this point in your life.
That's right. I feel like it's trying out new things and seeing what sticks, and this stuck.
And what was it that stuck for you? Was it because you were in a small environment versus working for some huge airline? Was it, as you said, you got involved in multiple facets and responsibilities of being in the business? What particularly stood out to you?
I think that was a big part of it, was being able to to try new things. I think it was also just, I think that curiosity that you mentioned is 100% right. Like, gosh,
Yes.
I don't know that there's any other job I've ever had that has required me to learn something new almost every day,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's even now, I'm probably 15, 17 years into this. I don't know. I'd have to go back and do the math, but even now looking back, I can't believe all the things that I'm still learning, just you think you've seen it all and you never have. So
I would have to agree with you on that one. I mean, maybe some days or some weeks, the pace of learning does slow down compared to the steeper ascent of learning and education earlier on. But there's always something you haven't seen before, haven't come across, or some different slant on something maybe that you have seen before.
yeah, it really makes you use your brain every single day.
Oh, I absolutely love that. So, by chance, because you were working in a smaller firm, did they, I don't know if the right word is, take favor to the fact that you were an aerial appraiser, given the flight professional status, or did you just stay in the local market for all the work you were doing?
I stayed in the local market, and we were very, we did almost all small multifamily. We did some,
Okay.
a bit larger stuff, but it was really straightforward, very local. In fact, it was, in my opinion, a great place to start. Some might say like the opposite, but I think one of the things that was really interesting for me was I was used to appraising fairly simple assets,
Okay.
and so you always kind of knew the answer. Things were
Hmm.
pretty clear. It's,
Yes.
you had tons of rent comp data, tons of sale comp data. Lots of people in the market that those guys have been around for so long that they knew everybody. So it
Yeah.
was really easy to talk to market participants.
Hmm.
And so I feel like it kind of set me up in a way that I expected things to fit together nicely, a nice sort of puzzle. And when they
Yes.
didn't, then I was like, there must be an easier answer. Like I was constantly searching for like the perfect answer versus, understanding. Like if I'd started on the opposite, you would probably just always assume that there isn't an easy answer and do what you can,
Hmm.
and in this case, I think I was like constantly searching for perfection because it seemed like it should always fit. But
That does sound a little on the familiar side. A little on the familiar side. My goodness. And you made reference to a fact that I don't think's actually changed in the time you've been in the industry, and that was you happen to be working with a number of professionals who were near the end of their career.
mm-hmm. Yes.
No real change from then till now, has there been?
nothing has changed. And also, honestly, surprisingly, at least one of them has hung on longer than I think he anticipated, which I think is also
Oh,
true for so many people in the appraisal,
yeah.
profession. They're
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
is.
why not do this another 10 years?
So, did you, because of the age of the professionals you were working with, did they crown you the future owner of the firm?
So we did talk about, potentially buying into the business at some point, but
Oh, okay.
the curiosity got the best of me and I wanted to go learn other things. So
Oh, I see.
I ended up moving on. Mhm.
Yeah. What? So, given the experience, you said you primarily started out in the multifamily space. What did you move on to?
So from there, I ended up going over to CBRE to write appraisals, and
Oh, that's a little change of pace.
yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, big
And
one.
it was funny because I remember taking appraisal classes and thinking, for people that worked at like the really large firms, I was like, oh, that must be hard. Like they do the hard stuff.
I like that. They do the hard
They do
stuff.
the hard stuff. I see those, appraisals of these like big high-rise buildings, and that it was intimidating to me. And I didn't think, like, given my experience, I was still a trainee at that time,
Yes.
that they were, going to hire me.
Mm.
I knew a broker at CBRE, and he happened to know the guy that ran the appraisal
Okay.
business. And I sent him my resume and said, would you just send this to him and see? And this is probably like, typical for our profession, but I think like 30 seconds later, I got a call like, oh, you want a job? You can fog a mirror? Excellent.
Oh my gosh, you can fog a mirror? Oh, whoa, wow. You might even get a bonus for that one.
It's just, I think where our industry was, particularly at that time, which I think it's actually probably improved based on some data I've seen. But at that time, there wasn't a lot of new appraisers coming in. And I think
that's true.
I think, just looking for people that they could train up. I didn't realize how desirable that was until he called.
Oh my goodness. So were you the only one that was brought in at that time, or did they bring in more of a class approach in terms of training and development?
It was just me at that time. They'd had a pretty, that office was fairly, so it was the Seattle office, and they were fairly well established. They had maybe 20 appraisers, and it was like such a cool environment for somebody that wants to learn new things.
Yes.
I didn't come in to work with the multifamily team, but they would give me some work when they, had some overflow, and that worked out really well because it was something that I really enjoyed doing and was comfortable with. So I'd get like some wins here and there, but then I was also taking on, kind of as a generalist, other stuff. I think like one of the things that in the appraisal profession now, that's changed so much since the pandemic is I just remember walking around and being like, hey, I'm appraising this industrial building. Can someone help me?
There were people there. Like you literally had, like being in a restaurant, you could just walk up to a table and be like, hey, I'm Becci, and I sit like over there on the corner. Or
that's right.
In the other floor or whatever it is. And I heard you're like Frank, and you've done some of these before. Yeah, well, hey, all right, give me a minute, or talk to you later, or have lunch with me, or go do this. Like there was almost immediate access in a really good way.
100%. And just being able to sort of collaborate with people and go, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Yes.
Was huge, and
huge value. Totally
I learned so much in that time that I was there, just being able to kind of collaborate with people. And
yes.
And because I'd had that background in the multifamily space where I was expecting perfection from everything, I was probably the slowest appraiser they had, but
they kept you. Unlike your dad that fired you, they kept you.
They kept me.
Thank goodness.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was like the charity.
We like them. We like them. That's a good thing.
No, yeah, but I mean, I think part of that was that they could give me some of that weird stuff, and I would dig in, because I felt like there had to be an explanation for things that didn't make sense, and sometimes you could find patterns or things to make it make sense. So anyway, it was fun. It was a really good experience, and I met a lot of really smart people, and everyone was just nice. Everybody was willing to help, which was great. So
yeah, that's actually really encouraging to hear. And you mentioned being a generalist. Is that given where you came in from? Is that where you stayed, or did you start to move towards a particular asset or vertical?
Yeah. So from there, I became the office specialist. I partnered up with the other office specialist there, who actually ended up moving into data centers, and now he works at Amazon. But
okay.
Or at least last I heard. But yeah, he and I partnered up, and he taught me a lot. I became really comfortable with Argus, and we were doing a lot of the stuff that I was sort of intimidated by before. Like those high-rise office buildings. And you start to see that, like, actually the complex stuff is the small stuff. You know what I mean? Because you're doing high-rise office building or multifamily, oftentimes those are really sophisticated investors, and you have rents that make sense.
Absolutely.
You have documents that actually make sense, or
you have lots of data.
Yes. You have lots of data, and everyone that you're talking to is sophisticated in real estate, and so those pieces fit better together, like the smaller multifamily did, than the industrial building that also has, an RV park and a water slide, or like something totally random that doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Yes. Why is it there? Well, just because. Like,
We really
why
wanted
why
that.
wouldn't it be there?
My wife asked for it, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so hilariously true. Hilariously true. Wow. That is something else. And did you also have more of a local focus, or once again were they calling you back to the skies to travel?
No, it was generally like the, Washington State,
Okay.
mostly Pacific Northwest,
Hmm.
Seattle type area. So,
Oh, that's fantastic. That is great to hear.
yeah.
And was it primarily because I remember you saying a little earlier that your perception was they do the hard stuff and it's intimidating. Were you doing the big assets, or were you doing more of the smaller ones?
I did both.
Okay.
I mean, I would take on some of the small stuff, and we'd also do some of the bigger stuff, and I think the key, like the difference for me, or like where I started to gain some efficiency and you start to really understand, what's going on, is when you get to do that specialization, because you start to know who to talk to. You start to build those relationships, and
Hmm.
that helps. It helps for
Yeah.
efficiency. Instead of I'm over here
Right.
now and I'm writing up a new neighborhood analysis and I'm meeting all new people and now I'm over here. So, yeah.
No, that is absolutely the case. And so, did you? Has that been your whole career, or did curiosity peak again and away you went?
Well, so next I was pregnant with our first kid.
Oh, okay.
And we had moved outside of Seattle. We moved about 45 minutes south of Seattle. And the commute, I say 45 minutes, but once you hit traffic or you take the train, it's about an hour and a half, right? So,
Yeah, it totally depends. It's all
yeah,
time of day. Like, how long is it? I'm like, tell me about the time of day, and then I'll
that's
tell
right.
you about the time
Yeah.
distance
Is
travel
it
time.
is it Monday or is it Friday? Like
Yeah.
it does make a difference. Yeah. So I was
Yes.
doing that commute while I was pregnant
Mhm.
and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my daughter when she was born, because, we have daycares down here, but like if she gets sick and I have to pick her up, my husband and I were both commuting up into Seattle,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
we weren't quite sure what we were going to do at that time. Sort of randomly or serendipitously, like I got a call from a chief appraiser at a bank that was headquartered where we live, and
Oh, wow.
he said, "Hey, we just had like an FDIC targeted exam.
Ooh,
They are
they
telling us
love us.
they
They
love
think we're a
us."
model financial institution.
He said, they are telling us we need more reviewers.
Ah,
we don't have enough, and I'm wondering
okay.
if you would be interested in coming to work here. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I interviewed for that job, probably 39 weeks pregnant. And,
Good for
um,
you.
yeah, and he
Better
called
for
me and
them.
he said, I really want to hire you, but I need somebody now. Like, how soon can you
Ooh,
start? And I was like,
that's tough.
I can't,
Yeah.
I need a minute.
Yeah, like there's this little life thing going on. I'm gonna be, disconnected for a period of time.
That's right. I need a
I don't
minute.
expect to fire the little one too soon, so we're gonna make the most of it.
This is my first time. I want to kind of get the
Oh,
feel and like see
absolutely.
what
There's
I'm
no
finding
chance.
out. This
Yeah,
isn't like
that
kid
completely
number
makes sense.
25, right? Like we're just getting started. So I told him I was going to need, a minute, and he said, I don't know if I can do that. I was like, okay. And then we hang up, and I'm thinking I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And then he calls me back, a few minutes later, and he's like, we're just going to do it. I joke with my husband that like he probably talked to HR and they were like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, yeah. Surprise.
You gotta hire her.
Yep, yep. Love that. Oh my gosh. That is
So
absolutely fantastic.
unlike, similar to the first job, it was
Hmm.
he. The second I got there, he was like, I am gonna retire soon.
Oh my gosh. Like it's kind of just pass the baton. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm another aging professional. Glad to see someone younger than me, and you're it. Tag.
It was a little bit like that. He was like, I think you might be my succession, and I was like,
Oh,
I don't know, we'll see.
wonderful.
And so he hung on for a couple of years, but I think because he was thinking about retirement, he wasn't super engaged in like trying to make things, make any big changes. Like he was a great chief appraiser and just a lovely, lovely person to work with,
I see.
and work for. But it was sort of similar to the first job where I was like, I see some things and I wonder if you'd let me try them out. Can I test this? And started talking to some other people. And when we hired more, because as I worked there, we continued to acquire other banks and we continued to grow. And I just sort of, hey, can I train this person? Can I create some documents? Some just did some stuff, which was all just fun for me. It was just for fun. And feeling like I could make an impact. And so when he retired, I actually left and had another baby, went on maternity leave. And when I came back, I sat down and had a meeting with him, and he's like, I'm putting in my notice now, like I'm done. He gave a very short 2-week notice. And there was so much happening at the bank at that time. We were in the middle of a fairly medium-sized acquisition. We had left our current appraisal management software and moved to a different one, or we were in the process of doing that.
I see.
We were also in the middle of a targeted FDIC exam. There was just a lot going on. And he said, so we're going to open it up, so apply if you want. At the time I was 35, I think. I was not sleeping at night, right? And a 2-year-old and a baby, and I wasn't going to apply because I didn't know a lot of chief appraisers that were my age.
That's true.
I didn't feel like I really fit the demographic. And it just...
What would ever have you say that, Becky? I mean, come on. That's shocking.
I was like, nobody's going to be able to picture me in that. And it just so happened that one of the girls that I worked with was like, I really want you to apply into this job.
Really?
And I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose. Okay, I'll try it. And so I applied, and I remember at the time thinking they could maybe either see what I've done and would, like that and hire me, or maybe they've seen what I've done and be like, no, thanks. We're going to go in a different direction. Right. So, I got the job, which was, I think, really surprising for me. But I felt like incredibly motivated to do a good job and to show up and to make an impact, and worked really hard. I remember having this like giant binder on my desk of like so the chief appraiser job at that time was for that bank was we covered commercial, residential, and environmental. So it had the broader, and I didn't, I knew enough to be dangerous with environmental and residential, but not enough. And so I'm pulling out all of this, like I'm reading like all of FIREA, and I'm reading all of the interagency appraisal and evaluation guidelines, and I'm reading Reg B and all this stuff, like highlighting things and taking notes and calling people going, what does this mean? And because I just wanted to make sure that like when we had that exam that I knew it inside and out. And
wow.
I look back now and kind of laugh at, just how probably overly prepared I was, because I wanted to be good at it,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, we've heard that a number of times, that theme of, hey, you want to do it right.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't get all the way to perfection, but we're not going to skimp by.
That's right. Yeah. So it was fun. I learned a lot, and I was going to environmental conferences trying to understand that. I had a boss that was very, very smart, and she was pretty, I say to people, like, you have mentors and then you have sponsors. She was a sponsor. So
that's phenomenal.
It was, I don't know that I could even I don't know that I can describe to people how important that is. I don't think we think about that often enough. She would go out and tell everybody about me. Like the things that I wasn't comfortable, you know what I mean? I wouldn't like go out and toot my own horn kind of thing.
Yes.
She did, so I didn't have to. I'd just sit back and be like, thanks. But she nominated me for 40 Under 40, and she nominated me for all sorts of like opportunities to get a seat at the table of different advisory councils and committees and things like that, where I could have a voice and I could learn kind of to see the bigger picture and hear other people's perspectives. And it was like the most amazing experience.
The market right now is tough for appraisal companies. Many companies are having a hard time getting enough work with the same marketing they used to. Is your company struggling, having a hard time getting new customers, or getting additional work from existing customers? The answer to this problem is easier than you think. Do more business with the people you already know. Over 10 years, the average U.S. appraisal firm meets over 17,000 potential customers. That's a lot of people you could be doing business with right now. But it's a big problem if you don't have a proven process to communicate with them. StoryLux turns this problem into an opportunity to grow. Our advanced AI marketing tool can rebuild your contact lists and harvest long-forgotten communications. Imagine reaching out to everyone you've ever met with just one click. For the cost of 1 or 2 appraisals a month, StoryLux helps you reconnect and market to people who already know you, like you, trust you, and want to do business with you. Act now by contacting StoryLux today to turn your business growth dreams into reality. Email appraisal@storylux.com. That is appraisal@storylux.com. And now back to part 2 of the episode.
That is phenomenal. I love that reference. First time actually we've heard anyone make reference to it, the idea of a sponsor versus a mentor. You want to share a little bit more about the experience of someone being more of a sponsor for you than just a mentor?
Yeah. I think like a mentor, kind of, I feel like is somebody that maybe kind of gives you some advice and, it helps you through your journey. And, sometimes that's like a matchup, right. And sometimes that's just kind of, it just happens naturally through like a relationship with somebody. And, I think to some degree she was a mentor, but she was more so a sponsor. I think a sponsor is more somebody that goes out and advocates for you or tells the world about you and things that I would say is certainly true for a lot of women that I know, where they just don't, they don't necessarily share their accomplishments comfortably or, don't, they sort of silently, show up and do their job every day and do a great job and maybe don't get recognized for the things that they're doing because they're not doing that for themselves. Right. Mm-hmm. So she did I don't even know if she realized that she was doing it. I've mentioned it to her since then, but like she had more of an impact on my life and career, I'd say, than like anyone else I've ever worked with. Wow. Just from that sort of push to get me involved in things and talk to people and making those introductions. And it was just really impactful. So, and then they did another thing at the bank that was just created like the most incredible culture that is something that I think companies sort of struggle to replicate. We had this amazing CEO when I was there. His name was Hadley Robbins. He retired like right before COVID. And he had some philosophies about things that I think are maybe unique to a lot of CEOs that I think really worked. He was very much about, teach people your values, make sure everybody's really clear on the values, and then give them the space to do their job in alignment with those values, So we had sort of a slogan there. It was do right. And it was, kind of people first, people, customers, shareholders.
Yes.
And very much, if you treat your people well, if you train them well, teach them what you want them, like how you want them to do things, how you want them to treat our customers, then shareholders will benefit. I thought that was an incredible environment because for somebody like me that's, curious and wants to try new things and they give you that ability to do that. It's like, do it responsibly, do the right thing, make sure that what you're doing is right for our people and right for our customers. Yes. And if you're doing that, then you're fine. Mistakes are going to happen. We're not going to be perfect, but just continue with those sort of principles in mind. And it worked. Similar in the banking profession as the appraisal profession, you've got maybe a less amount of people that are joining and a lot of people that are aging out. And so they had created a program. It was called Leadership and Excellence. And I was part of the pilot program. They did like 10, I think it was 10 people. And they had 3 sort of executive leadership coaches that they had hired from Amazon to come work at the bank.
Really? And
we had a year-long program where they just, we read books on leadership. We learned about all sorts of, almost like project management. And we'd meet every month face-to-face because, everybody's kind of coming from all over the place. Our footprint was mostly Washington, Oregon, and Idaho at that time. Now it's a much larger.
Oh, wow.
But
okay.
And so, we'd all come together and we would kind of talk through things. And some of those people I'm still very close with. And that coach that I had at the time, she and I, still talk regularly. And she's just, it was just such a phenomenal experience. I think if every company invested in their people in that way, you would have less attrition. You would also just have like the most, I think, cohesive sort of amazing culture, of people kind of working together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how amazing. And it's wonderful to hear you talk about this experience, Becci, of being in an organization that actually invests in the development of you as a person. For the benefit of every place in your life, including work, which is where we spend the vast majority of our times besides sleeping. And you become more capable, more aware, more impactful, more influential, more knowledgeable, intelligent, whatever it might be. And that shows up in all areas of your life, including at work.
100%. That is,
it
is, it's hard for, I think, anyone to sort of articulate like just how impactful that is in every facet of your life. And even like to the extent, that I would almost argue that if you have things that are kind of messy in your personal life that can bleed into your work life and vice versa. Like, I think that, I don't know if you've seen that show Severance. But that sort of cracks me up because for so many reasons, I don't even know where to begin. But, that concept that you can like keep those so separate is ludicrous because it isn't, you're one whole person. And, if you're fatigued in one area, that's going to come over to another. And the other part that felt like so amazing about it was just the attention that you put behind the things that you did. I think so often we're going a million miles a minute and you're doing your best to connect with people and to create, meaningful goals and sort of strategic initiatives. And that can be hard when you're just dealing with all the stuff, all the things that life throws at you, work-wise or personal. And to be able to kind of allow yourself to take time and go, okay, every week or, whatever, I'm going to set time aside to really think about what direction are we heading or what are we trying to do,
Yeah, I get that. When you had the opportunity to participate in that program, you mentioned there was a lot of reading involved. Any particular article or book really kind of stand out as one that you really took with you?
I love the Simon Sinek books.
Mm-hmm.
He's just lovely, right? Well, you're smiling.
I know his work. I know somebody that works for him. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I know someone that knew him before anyone knew who he was, and it was hilarious to hear about how his early on. Like everybody starts somewhere. Like no one ever starts at the top, and
That's right.
it's so fun to to hear the early stories. And like, yeah, he was such and such, and like we used to be. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like because you don't know those stories.
That's right.
Who knew someone when kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I love
very much.
that. I loved his books. We read some Brene Brown. They had like
Oh,
people come in and do um it's escaping me now, but we would do things like oh my gosh. I feel terrible that I can't remember this now, but like where
that's okay.
you basically think about like different types of leadership, like you put
Oh,
people in
yes,
like, oh, I know this really well.
yes,
And also, like, I don't really need any oversight. You know what I mean? Like, just let me do my thing.
yes.
Kind of like, don't micromanage the person that knows everything. And also,
I get it.
um, like, I
Hmm.
think like a lot of managers often think that everyone is going to know everything. And the truth is, every single one of us has things that we're really great at and lots of things that we aren't great at, or lots of
That's
things that
true.
we,
Hmm.
but maybe there's things that you want to be really good at that you just haven't had the opportunity yet. And that's the place that like as a manager you can kind of bring growth to those people by going, "Hey, you're awesome at this. I'm going to leave you alone and let you do your thing, and you want to learn more here and I'm going to be here to help you with that."
That works. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And what a great opportunity to get to be immersed in and then role play with multiple scenarios.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It was amazing. It was just an incredible experience. So I did that. I think I was at the bank for maybe 5 or 6 years,
Oh, okay.
and then COVID hit, and it kind of changed everything.
Mm,
I I had at that point a 3 and a 5-year-old, and
okay.
my 5-year-old was uh, doing like I don't know, we had her in a preschool, and for some reason they really wanted them to do like they wanted to continue, probably because they wanted
Yes.
to like justify like tuition payments, and so we'd have like
Ah.
Zoom meetings every day where she'd have
Oh
to like
gosh.
sit in these
Yeah.
classes. Yeah, and it was, so we're trying to like do the right thing and have her sit in those and work at the same time. And we put a bouncy house in the living room.
I love that. A bouncy house in the living room. That is so smart.
Like we moved all the furniture out of the way, and then we put that in, and we were like, and I had my office in our
Hmm.
bedroom, and I had like a red dot and a green dot, because at that point the girls weren't
Yep.
reading, and
Yep.
and so if the red dot was on the door, they couldn't come in. I was in a meeting, and if the green
I
dot
love
was
that.
on, then they
Oh
could
my
come
gosh, it's so
in.
good.
And but it was the bank. The bank at that time was like very uncomfortable with people working remote, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
wanted they wanted us all back in the office, and that felt like something that I just couldn't do at that point in my
Mm.
life, without proper childcare.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally the case.
So I ended up calling a friend of mine at CBRE, and we were just talking. And I said, I think this is kind of a weird time, and I can't,
Hmm.
I can't go back into the office. I think I might just be like a consultant. Like, I think I'm just going to
Oh,
do my own thing. So it gives me the flexibility to kind of be with the girls and allow my husband to work. Um, and he was like, don't do that. We have a job that's perfect for you. Like, I want,
what?
I want you to interview. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And,
It's amazing.
it was amazing. And,
Good for
kind
him.
of same, like skeptical, like we'll see how it goes. And in the meantime, if
Hmm.
not, I'll do third party reviews for banks, or I'll help them with their policies and procedures. I'll figure something out. It'll be fine.
Sure.
And so anyway, I interviewed for the job, and that's the job I'm in now. So
Oh, okay.
that is it's kind of like a quality risk management. Uh, and my boss is in Brisbane. So I had an interview with him, and he and
Your boss is in Brisbane?
yeah, I'm Brisbane. Brisbane. Yeah,
I mean, for people that don't make the connection, could you just share how many time zones different that is?
oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm trying to,
Especially from, you're on the West Coast. So, I mean, that's even more than where it is from here.
that's absolutely right. Yeah. So he like if I were to talk to him right now, it would be,
Yes.
so it's 12:30 p.m. my time.
Yes.
It's probably, I'm going to say 3 or 4 in the morning for him to like on the
Yeah.
next day. Right.
It's
So
tomorrow minus a couple hours is
that's,
kind of how it goes.
yeah.
Like whenever I connect with
Yes.
peers and some friends, but other entrepreneurial peers around the world, it's always fascinating, this whole idea of the clocks. You might remember when like you were younger, you see movies, they have like a 5 clocks on the wall. And you're like, why do ever people need those? You're like, oh, because it's somebody's sleeping right now. You're like, you can't talk to them at
You
this
can't
hour
talk
when
to
they're
them
in
right
that
now.
location. Wow, that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
wow, Brisbane. So I guess you all talk every day then, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, honestly, like he's incredible. So he runs the globe for our quality and risk management group, and
Oh, I see.
he truly, like, he really does accommodate the time zones. You know, he stays up late to talk to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up early to talk to me. And we connect regularly. But yeah, it is. I mean, he's a saint for doing
Oh my
that.
goodness.
I think I'd be like, I'm sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, we interviewed. I think we were really aligned on some things, and it felt like such an exciting opportunity, because from being on the client side, there were things that like I felt like I had maybe some insights or some perspective on things in terms of what regulators are looking for, what, you know, my
Mm-hmm.
other chief appraiser peers were looking for, some pain points that people had. And it felt like a great opportunity to be able to kind of hopefully bridge that gap, you know, between sort of your fee appraisers and your chief
Yes.
appraisers to go, what are some of the blind spots or ways that we can help. And so, yeah, I started working for CBRE again back in October of 2020 and have been
Oh,
here
wow.
ever since.
And then compared to when you started out in the Pacific Northwest, and then you were with a bank who grew through acquisition, so you started to have some additional states. How big of perspective or oversight do you have? Is it regional? Is it national? Is it global?
Yeah, so my position is the Americas, so North
The
and South
Americas.
America. Hmm.
Okay.
I have a team of about 20 people that covers the US, and then I've got a representative that I work really closely with in Canada and one for LATAM. And yeah, I mean, it's like, it's the coolest group of people to work with because everybody on the QRM team, actually, I'm just going to say everybody on the QRM team is really experienced. And kind of going back to like that, you know, thing that we were talking about earlier, we have, you know, regular team meetings, but we also have a distribution list that we all kind of email each other, and other people at CBRE can send in emails like with questions. Hey, thinking about this methodology, what do you think? Or I've got this USPAP question, and we can answer those. It's fun to collaborate and kind of think about, you know, different ways to handle things or different ways to solve problems. The team, you know, puts out guidance notes and like, you know, something like C-PACE financing where, you know, maybe you're an appraiser and you're like, what is this? And what does it mean for appraisals?
Absolutely. Sure.
You know, we kind of do our own LUM library where we're like, well, this is what it means and this is how you handle it. And, you know, so it's fun for like people like us that really like to kind of, you know, figure that stuff out and
dig in.
other people get it and, you know, work through appraisal problems.
No, I think that's amazing. And for, you know, a lot of our listeners and when you just look at the percent of the people in the industry, not everyone works at a CBRE or comparable national or even global firm. When you think about where you started from to the role that you're in now, how would you describe for someone like you were when you were with that smaller firm with some professionals nearing retirement, the description of the role you have now, they're kind of like, well, does a firm really need that? Obviously, your guys are, I know the numbers, but for others that don't, if you give them some perspective, like why does the responsibility you have exist
Yeah.
compared to a smaller firm that just wouldn't have this, or it would be called something different, or be part of somebody else's job?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree that goes to the sheer volume, so we probably do in the US about 70,000 appraisals a year.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a lot of appraisers working here, so I
Hmm.
haven't looked at the most recent numbers, but we'll say, you know, at least 800.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you're not at 1,000. I know that, but I know you're up above the 700 level. It's somewhere in that range.
yeah, it's, there's, and I think, there's just, there's there's some benefit to having like focus, and I think
Yes.
we really try to do that, bring like I have a coworker that I work with that always has all these sayings that I love, and he's always saying, focus is a superpower. And if you can kind of, create these groups of people that become the person that you can go to when you've got, things that
Hmm.
you do. I think it kind of goes
Yep.
back to what I was saying earlier. Not everybody's good at everything. And
Yes.
so if you find those strengths of, hey, this person's really great at management, this person's really good at research, this person's really good at,
Hmm.
customer service, like if you can find those strengths in people and let them do what they're good at, then
Yes.
everybody else gets to benefit from that. And I think it helps, for someone like me that has worked on the client side, and a lot of people in QRM are like that. They've worked for
Hmm.
various clients. We get to be sort of the, bridge the gap. Like, appraiser comes to us and says, I don't know why they're asking me to do this thing that doesn't impact value. And it's like, well, they have to do it for flood compliance, or they get, fined, or like being able to kind of
There's
help.
stuff that goes on that's bigger than your view of the world.
That's right. Yeah, that isn't always clear. People aren't always communicating that well,
Yes.
right? To kind of help
Yeah.
communicate that. So yeah, and we do other things, like a lot of what we do is just internal quality control reviews before they go to the client. So we read a lot of reports. I think there's something to that too. Gosh, at the bank, it was amazing because I'm reading all of these appraisals from every firm, small firms, big firms, and hiring everybody,
Yes.
and when I first started, I had a list. This is probably useful for any fee appraisers out there. I had a list that I was keeping track. Now they have scorecards and things in
Yeah.
systems,
Yeah.
but at that time they didn't. And so I just had an Excel, and I would write down the report that I reviewed, and I'd write down the name, and I would kind of make a comment like, don't ever hire this person for subdivisions again. You know what I mean? Like, and then I would have that person's
Mhm.
name again and be like, awesome at industrial. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah. Yeah.
you would start like at night, and it took time, but over time I started to know
Yes.
this is the person that I send this type of work to. And
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure that everybody got work, so I felt like I was spreading it around, but I definitely was keeping track of like who's going to make my life easy. you know
Yeah. I mean, you don't get paid extra for difficult assignments. I
that's
mean,
totally right.
relative to the work that someone else has to do, like the fee's the fee,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that the other people involved don't have a disproportionate amount of effort and responsibility in there.
that's right. And your bank reviewers are subject to the same pressures that your fee
Oh,
appraisers are. They've
yeah.
got, in fact, like to some degree, I think appraisers don't realize how much your bank reviewers go to bat for them,
Yes.
because the responsibility is on you. I hired you. I
Yes.
now have to sign off on this appraisal, and if a loan officer is upset, I have to be able to explain that to them. And so as efficiently as you can do that, you have to, because you've got deadlines
Hmm.
and loan closings and things that you have to meet too. So yeah.
No, that completely makes sense. That completely makes sense. I mean, well, given everything that you've seen and everything you've heard and everything you've experienced, Becci, what are you looking forward to over the next 3 to 5 years?
I am cautiously optimistic about technology. So
Okay.
yeah, I feel I feel like there is going to be such a major shift, in how we write appraisals, how we think about appraisals,
Mm-hmm.
um, how we think about reviews. That I think we're at like sort of this like inflection point, or we're on the verge of something that is going to be such a big change that I am excited, and I'm also a bit cautious, because I want to make sure that even outside of CBRE, or outside of
Yeah.
any appraisal firm or bank that you work with, as an industry, we are preparing people for that, that we
Yeah.
are that we are aligned in terms of what is the future of appraisals, what does our job look like,
Yeah.
what is how are we using technology to be as impactful as we can, and in terms of getting it right, and using those things to you know take away maybe some of the stuff that is less important, and letting
Mm-hmm.
our appraisers really focus on the things that make the big impact.
Mm. Oh, that's a good point.
So that is, I would say, like, of all the things, that's what I'm thinking about most right now, is just what does that future look like, and how do we
Mm-hmm.
prepare people for that?
That is, boy, we, as they say, may you be fortunate enough to live in interesting times. And yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Oh my goodness. Well, Becky, I so appreciate you coming and sharing a little bit of your perspective and your time in and around the industry. And like no two people have the same path, and we've definitely not had the privilege of hearing from anyone that's had the opportunities you have, and just really encouraging to understand the value of curiosity and a sense of putting in a little extra effort to both learn and grow and do right, not only for yourself and for your peers, but also for the customer, and how that's paid off for you because you've stayed in touch with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's totally true. That's the slogan for every person. Be curious.
It, there's many responses we can have, and there's many reactions that might come upon us. But sometimes in between the space of something happening and then whatever we say or do or think, there's that little gap. And if I don't know, if we're fortunate enough just to insert a smidge of curiosity, it can completely transform the experience.
100%.
Oh, that is good. That is good. Well, friends, thanks for joining us for another informative, insightful, and definitely educational conversation. As you heard from Becci, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and you get to learn who to reach out to. I know, just like you said, there's definite people when things come up, like I'm gonna call her, or I'm gonna call him because it's that type of property, or it's in a particular area, or whatever the characteristics might be, because we all don't work in an office anymore. It's a matter of, you know, I sometimes think it's a lot harder to work today than it used to be because of that lack of call it in office experience.
100%.
But
Yep.
good for you, Becci, for making it work and dealing with the boss that's living in the future.
He totally is. Tell me what's going to happen tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You're like, oh my gosh, do you already know tomorrow's winning lottery ticket numbers? Just send me a little text. Oh my goodness. Well, friends, as we encouraged you before to do, and we'll remind you as we wrap up, thank you for not only commenting on the podcast and liking it, because how can you not? It's Becci, but also subscribing. And I can only imagine that all 800 of Becci's peers over at CBRE will soon be just taking perusings to the very next level of fandom and subscribers. So, Becci, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Appraisers, Appraisers on Purpose. We hope you enjoyed learning from the amazing professional paths and achievements of our beloved guests. Before we go, please subscribe on your listening channel, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other podcast channels to hear more from appraisers and valuers regarding their life and their work. After you drop a comment below, who is one friend and peer you can generously share this episode with? If you have any suggestions or questions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Just send us a message on LinkedIn and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks again for listening, and until we're together again for the next session of Appraisers on Purpose, create the change that you seek.